The main driver for an energy audit or energy assessment is to reduce your energy consumption and resulting energy utility bills. Doing so will also reduce your building's carbon footprint because you're not using as much energy as you were before if you implemented the energy conservation measures. The utility company has to burn less fossil fuel, that's less CO2 emissions emitted into the air, and that results in reducing your building's carbon footprint. Thirdly, by employing energy conservation measures as recommended by the energy assessment or energy audit, those savings can be redirected to other areas in the building or functions in the building, and also help replenish your capital reserves. The money that you're no longer paying out to the utility company can go and replenish your capital reserves for other anticipated projects in the building. There's essentially 4 types of energy audits. There's the benchmarking energy audit, which basically looks at your building's annual energy consumption as related to buildings across the nation of similar use type. From there, a score is assigned that shows how your building uses energy compared to other buildings across the United States. If the score is good, usually that indicates your building is working pretty efficiently, but for the most of the time we see buildings with a low energy score, which the next stage would then be to perform a more involved energy audit, which would be the next one, which is called a walkthrough energy audit, where primarily an engineer or somebody versed in how buildings use energy walk through the building, identify low cost or no cost measures, and then also capital projects that can be employed to further reduce energy consumption. The third type of energy assessment is the standard energy audit or assessment, which is a combination of the benchmarking and walkthrough, but it's a more detailed engineering analysis, typically involved with some financial calculations as well, that looks at different energy conservation measures as well as the cost of those measures to employ them. And then the fourth type of energy audit or assessment is the investment grade energy audit, which builds upon the first 3 audits I just talked about. But it's even a more detailed or rigorous engineering analysis and financial analysis that typically involves building energy modeling to look at how the building typically uses energy over the course of a year, and then looks at how the building would use energy if energy conservation measures were employed over a year. And then lastly, as I said before, a more rigorous financial analysis is conducted because it is used for capital investment purposes. Well, typically the energy assessment, depending on the level energy assessment that wants to be employed, either a benchmarking or a walkthrough energy assessment, is pretty much a low-cost effort to conduct by the energy assessor, essentially. We usually find through either a walkthrough energy audit that we can identify low-cost or no-cost capital investments that can have a payback period of immediately or several months or less than a year payback period. Typically the buildings that are the best candidates for an energy audit are buildings typically 3 to 5 years old and older. We typically find even with new buildings that were just recently constructed, systems will fall out of calibration, or operations will not be maintained in the building. And typically through an energy assessment, we can identify those issues, and they usually are low cost or no cost improvements that can be made to make the building more energy efficient. Another determining factor or a good indicator to conduct an energy assessment is buildings that have high energy utility bills. If you want to reduce those costs, we can look at the utility bills. The peak demand charges will determine what in the building is using the most energy that could be affecting your utility bill charges. If you're considering doing an HVAC system replacement, that would be an excellent opportunity to conduct an energy assessment to look at what the available options are rather than just doing a direct replacement HVAC system. We could look at more efficient systems to employ, and then also look at the financial incentives that are available that can help reduce the capital investment or the payback period associated with employing those energy conservation measures or energy efficiency improvements.